Hey everybody, my name is Brian. I'm a science teacher at Forsyth Satellite Academy, and for the next week I'll be teaching your lightning round English course on Afrofuturism. Um, Afrofuturism is a genre of science fiction and speculative fiction that is really different. Why we distinguish it from kind of science fiction, why we give it a different name, is because it's steeped in Black culture and it's steeped in Black ancestral knowledge and the Black identity. And it envisions a world that is liberated. It envisions a past that is liberated. It envisions present that's liberated. And I'm going to say a little bit more about what I mean by that. Why I think that this genre is so important and so interesting is that it acknowledges the oppression of Black folks and folks of color for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it acknowledges those systems of oppression, and it sees them as so deep and so intertwined. It acknowledges that with how we see the world, that it actually takes an act of science fiction to envision a world that's different. It actually takes imagination and literature and art to create the idea of a world that's different, that is free of those systems of oppression. And so in this course, I want to look at three essential questions together. How are stories and how we see the world related? How can a story change the world? And what does a world look like that I want to live in? And that I is you. Okay? What does the world look like that you want to live in? And we're going to be using the motifs of Afrofuturism to investigate and develop these questions in us. A thing I want to say is that science fiction, we've been using it for many, many, many years to imagine and envision a world that's different. And largely, we've used it for all different things. We going to the moon was science fiction before it happened. Rocket ships were science fiction before we made them. Submarines were science fiction before we made them. And I'm going to go over a few examples right now that might ring true for your own lives. I want to show you a quick video. This is a movie that was made in 1968. Now, the movie is called 2001: A Space Odyssey, but I want to take you to take a look at what this person is using here.
Billion-mile voyage to Hal, despite your enormous intellect, are you ever frustrated by your dependence on...
Looks a lot like an iPad, doesn't it? Now, this was back in 1968 when nobody could even envision taking something that looked like a plain book and using it to watch television or interact with it by touching it or talk to people. Right now, some of you might be watching this on an iPad while you eat your dinner, just like this guy is, right? And so this is another example. This is an example of how science fiction came before something that actually happened. We needed that imagination first. Here's an example of Star Trek. This is Captain Kirk, the captain of the ship, who is holding a communication device, right? This is from 1965. Here is that same actor many, many, many years later holding a flip phone. The idea, right, came before we had the technology to make it happen. But it didn't stop us from imagining. Here is Dr. Frankenstein and Dr. Frankenstein's monster. This is written by Mary Shelley. Back then, organ transplants were a thing of science fiction, were a thing of literature. It was not seen as possible. And now today, that's something that's a very common, extremely common practice. Even this title says how bioprinting has turned Frankenstein's mad science sane, right? It's just regular, it's commonplace. And then the last example I want to show you is Earbuds. In 1953, Ray Bradbury wrote a very famous book called Fahrenheit 451, in which he talked about people being so obsessed with entertainment and needing to be constantly distracted that they did so with little seashells filling their ears with an electronic ocean of sound of music and talk. Now, this was in 1953. This was way before we even talked about music being portable in headphones, let alone earbuds, let alone being able to walk around listening to whatever you want whenever you want it. So it's very clear that if you look at history, we have used science fiction to come up with solutions before we had the technology to do so. Now, I want to say something else about these examples is that there's no black folks in any of them, right? It's all examples with white folks. Science fiction has been a genre that has excluded black folks for a very long time. Now, that's not 100% true. Of course, there's some anomalies, and things have changed over time, which I'll talk about in a moment. But it's been so important for us as humans to envision the future, right? And so Afrofuturism opens that up to envision a future from the black identity, from the black mind, right? From looking at systems of oppression and envisioning how that could be different, right? Envisioning what you want, right? So we have seen this in very recent times, Black Panther, right? This is an example of Afrofuturism, and one that has been, is in popular culture now, which is amazing. The thing is, there's actually a lot of authors and writers and thinkers in envisioning a future that's different, and so we are going to examine one of those writers today in this course. Her name is Adrienne Marie Brown. She is a queer black author, and she's also was a student, a scholar of Octavia Butler's, who was a very famous writer, a science fiction writer who wrote a lot of Afrofuturism. And she wrote a story called The River, and that's going to be part of our work for this course. And so I'm very excited to introduce you to her and to her short story. And I want to go over a little bit what this course will look like, and a little bit of what to do on the first day before I close out. Okay. And so this course has 3 assignments. The first assignment is just like an introduction to Afrofuturism. You're watching this video. There's a YouTube video, and then you're going to do a focus free write. The second day, you're going to watch the introduction video to the story, which I'll give you, and then you're going to listen to a recording of the story. I'll also make a PDF available to you, so if you want to read it. It's not very long. But I would encourage you to listen to it. Just take time to lay down or close your eyes and listen to the story, and envision what this author envisioned. After you kind of engage with the story, whatever way feels good to you, there'll be a focus free write, and then the last assignment is an envisioning of the future. And there'll be 2 parts to that. There'll be a focus free write assignment and a creative writing piece. Okay? And all of these assignments will be done in the same document. All right? So what does day 1 look like? Well, let's take a look. Watch this intro video. Congratulations, you did it. And then there's actually a YouTube video on Afrofuturism that I think is short and really good, and introduces you to some artists, authors, and filmmakers who are in the field of Afrofuturism. And then you're going to do your focus free write in your Afrofuturism diary. And that's the day. I'm really excited to offer this course, and that the school is offering this course. And I want to just encourage you to keep looking for and unearthing the power that you have to envision a world that's different and to bring that world into being. All right. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.